Hey friends, it's Tess. This is Wander Wealthy, and this month we're talking about home buying and home ownership. If you're looking or interested to purchase a home in the near future or just sometime in your future, then this is a perfect month to start becoming a subscriber of this YouTube channel. So hit that button down there because I'm going to be uploading more videos on the process of home buying and home ownership throughout the entire month of June 2018. And if you have questions about buying a home, then put them in the comment section below so that I can know to make videos about that topic. Today we're going to be talking about how to save for your down payment. I get this question all the time. Most of the people who enter the Wealthy Wanderers private Facebook community, which is my community where you can talk openly about personal finance, personal development, or travel, so go to wanderwealthy.com/FB to join. But most of the people who join say that their number one goal is to buy a home within the next year or just in the near future. And their biggest question is how to save, or their goal is to save a down payment in order to buy that home. So I wanted to answer how you do save for a down payment. So I have like 3 or 4 steps, but they're mainly just like things that are really important to know when you are planning to save for this down payment, and some of my favorite tips and tricks in order to do so. Now, in order to keep this video from being super long, I can't answer all of these questions that I do think are really vital to know, such as how much home can you realistically afford? That is a time and place for another video, which will be coming out soon, and when it does, I will plop it in the iCard, I think that's what they're called, up there. But let's say you've already figured that out because you went and watched that video, or you just have an idea of how much of a home you want to buy, then this is where you go next, saving for that down payment. The problem is most people don't realize, or they just forget, or they're misinformed, that it's not just the down payment that you need to put down on the day that you sign on the dotted line in order to purchase the home. So I'm gonna cover it all because you need to know it all, okay? Let's get started. Step number 1 is to figure out how much of a down payment you are putting down. There is misinformation out there which most people believe they need to have 20% in order to put a down payment on a home. So 20% of the cost of the home is how much they need to save in order to make their home purchase. Now, this is kind of beneficial misinformation because putting 20% down is technically in your best interest. I mean, really putting 100% down is in your best interest because you're gonna save the most money on buying a home by just buying it outright in cash, but most of us do not have $200,000 to throw around. Financing a home is generally the norm. And like I said, putting 20% down is in your best interest, and I'm gonna get to that, but it's a rumor. You don't have to put 20% down in order to buy a home. You can actually put as little as 0% down if you are in the military or a veteran, and as little as 3% down with a conventional loan or an FHA loan. So let's talk about that real fast. For those who qualify for a VA loan, you can usually put as little as 0% down and still get pretty competitive interest rates on the loan, which is not bad. I mean, it is always wise to take on as little debt as possible, so you don't want to just take a VA loan out for a $500,000 home because you're still going to be paying a crap ton in interest. But if you want to be a homeowner fast and you don't want to save, then yeah, I guess you can apply for a VA loan and not have to put a super large down payment down. Okay, but not all of us are in the military or qualify for VA loans, so what can you do? Well, if you are a first-time home buyer, you might qualify for an FHA loan, where you can put as little as 3.5% down. That's not bad. 3.5% of a $100,000 home is $3,500. That's super cheap for acquiring a home. Now, do note that this means that you're going to be paying a lot more in interest over the course of the loan because you're not putting that much down. Still, you don't have to come to the table with as much money, and you can do a lot of things with that home in order to produce cash flow. Like if you buy a duplex and then you rent out the other side, and then your home is now just an income property. The one thing to know is that when you do make a payment that is less than 20% of the value of the home, you're going to have to make monthly payments for private mortgage insurance, or or PMI. So with an FHA loan, you can put down a pretty small down payment, but you can also do that with a conventional loan. Conventional loans are kind of the standard loans that you can get, and if you're putting 20% down, you're probably gonna get a conventional loan. You can put more down and get a conventional loan, and you can actually put less down, as little as 3%, because there are things called conventional 97 loans. That means that you're getting a loan for 97% of the price of the home. The one thing to note is that yes, you're gonna pay PMI, which is an additional monthly cost on top of your mortgage payments, and you're also potentially going to pay more in interest, because by not putting down more, at least 5 or even 10% as a down payment, you might get an interest rate hike because you're only putting 3% down. So that's a quick little crash course as far as mortgage and lending goes, and how much of a down payment you can reasonably put down, plus what goes into your best interest. Like I said, 20% is kind of that golden number, and although there are rumors about it, it is a good number to strive for, because first of all, you're just going to be paying less in interest over the course of your loan because you're financing less money. But you're also not going to have to pay private mortgage insurance, which can save you a couple $100s here and there and thousands of dollars over the lifetime of the loan. All right, so once you figure out how much your down payment is, now you have an idea of how much you need to save. But hold on. Step number 2 is sitting down and being realistic about how much you're actually going to need to pay when you sign on the dotted line and get the keys to your home. There are things like closing costs, which can be super expensive. They can range from 2 to 5% of the total cost of the home. So if you're getting a mortgage for $200,000, you could be paying as much as $10,000 just to secure that mortgage and close and pay all the fees that come with actually buying a home. You also want to consider moving costs, and those can be anywhere from, I don't know, $300 to a couple $1,000s. Another thing to add to the list is the first couple months of your mortgage payment. You want to make sure that you have that stashed away in the bank, and although that could be part of your emergency savings fund, you just want to make sure that you're going to be able to afford that for the next 3 months, but also not drain your emergency savings fund. And that leads me to also making sure that you have an emergency savings fund in place, because once you sign on the dotted line and become a homeowner, now you're on the fence for a whole lot of money. And if you lose your job, that could turn into a disaster. So you want to have about 6 months of your monthly expenses and include how much you're going to be paying for your mortgage plus taxes and insurance in there, and that's how much you want to have socked away in savings. And finally, you might consider also having saved some maintenance and repair costs. Now, this can vary because it might be based on how much repairs you actually need to make upon moving into your home. Maybe you know of some issues that need to be fixed and paid for. But if you aren't aware of any repairs, you do want to at least make sure that you have some money stashed away in case the HVAC system just blows 1 month after you move into your home. It's recommended to have 1 to 3% of the total price of the home in savings for maintenance and repairs each year. So I hate to break it to you, but on top of the, let's say, 20% down payment that you need to be saving for, you also need to be saving for closing costs, maintenance and repairs, your emergency savings fund that may include the first couple months of that mortgage payment that you're going to be making, as well as your moving costs. That can add up to be a lot of money. If you're putting 20% down on a $200,000 home, you're paying $40,000 plus $10,000 in closing costs, plus $2,000 in maintenance and repairs, plus potentially, I don't know, let's say $6,000 or maybe $8,000 of an emergency savings fund, plus $1,000 in moving costs, plus, did I miss anything? I think I covered it. But if we total that up, that's, this is really hard. That means you're gonna need to save about $61,000 in order to purchase your home. Now, don't let that scare you. Everyone has to go through this, and it's a process. But if you do the due diligence now, you're going to have a much more realistic game plan and probably be a lot more proactive about saving for a down payment so you can finally become a homeowner sooner than later. And that takes me to step number 3 of saving for your down payment plus all the additional costs that all the schmeebs that don't watch this video completely forget about. And step number 3 is to total up all of those costs plus the savings that you're gonna wanna make sure you have. Yes, It's gonna be a lot, but you can break it down in a way and start making a plan on where you're going to save this money and how you're going to save this money. If you need to break it down into a monthly or a weekly or even a daily number, then do that and figure out how you're going to carve that money out of your budget. A really good exercise is to do this with the anti-budget, because the anti-budget, which is a budgeting methodology that I teach, you can go to wanderwealthy.com/anti-budget. It's the best budget in the universe, if I do say so myself. But we come up with a daily number, how much you can spend on a daily basis. And you can start figuring out, okay, calculate this anti-budget without planning for that home savings, and then figure out how much you can carve out of that daily number to set aside, and then you can come up with a timeline and figure out how long it's going to take you to actually save for this goal. Now, where are you gonna save all this money? I'm glad you asked. You can sock away this savings into a high yield savings account. I love online accounts because they give you a little bit more bump in interest rate. And granted, it's not gonna be a lot, but it's going to be a great place to stash your cash, especially when it's a large amount. Depending on the timeline, you could also consider putting your money away into some sort of brokerage account that has the risk classification for the timeline that you're going to be saving your money for until you want to buy your home. If you don't plan to become a homeowner for another 4+ years, then you can use something like a robo-advisor, and they can help you determine, based on your timeline, aka how long until you actually want to achieve this goal, they can determine the asset allocation that you need to be investing into that is safe enough so that you have the proper risk and return ratio for achieving that goal. So you're not gonna lose all that money, hopefully. But with investing, instead of just putting your money in a savings account, you can have potentially a little bit more bump in that return. Instead of looking at a 1 to 2%, maybe you'll get 3, 4, 5, 6, I don't know, the sky's the limit. Where you save your money, of course, depends on you and your appetite for risk and what is best for your financial situation. So pick a savings account that is really awesome. I'll link my favorite one below in the description, or consider going the brokerage or robo-advisor route. I will also put the affiliate links for the ones that I personally use and recommend down in the description box as well. And that leads me to my last step/tip when it comes to saving for a down payment. Now that you have your account set up and you've figured out how much you need to save on a daily, weekly, or monthly basis in order to reach the timeline that you want to buy your home eventually, now it's time to put the pedal to the metal and figure out ways that you can, I don't know, give that savings a boost. Just living your dang life isn't going to be enough to really skyrocket your savings unless you have a pretty stellar income. So a couple additional things that you can do are, first of all, sock away any raises, bonuses, or tax refunds that you get. Don't let your lifestyle inflate if you get an extra $1,000 or $2,000 this month. Just take that extra money and push it into that savings account. And that'll give your savings for your home down payment a heck of a boost. You might also want to consider downscaling your life just for the time being. I personally hate this recommendation because I think that you can have your cake and eat it too. You can do some of the things that you love, even if they do cost a little bit more money, as long as you prioritize. However, if your top priority is to buy a home in 4 years, then it might just take not going on those cruises or those other luxury vacations every year in order to get to that goal in time. Saving an additional $2,000 to $5,000 a year just by cutting back on those stellar vacations might do the trick to getting you to your savings goal fast enough. Another recommendation is to get a side hustle or a second job and put all the extra money that you make into that goal. And finally, for those of you who do have some family income, maybe someone has passed away and you get a chunk of change, or maybe you just have really generous family members on your birthday, that is a perfect time to take all of that money, or even if you just want only money for Christmas so that you can put it into your savings account for your home down payment, that is a perfect way to route a significantly large amount of money that isn't even yours that you have to save into that savings account and use it to buy yourself a home. Okay, I hope that these tips were helpful. If you have any more questions about saving for your down payment, then make sure you put them down in the comment section below. And of course, if you liked this video, give it a thumbs up. Let me know other questions you have about home buying buying and what you want to hear during the month of June on how to purchase your next home, or just general questions you have about home ownership. I'd love to answer them here on the Wander Wealthy YouTube channel. I think that'll be it for now. Until next time, I hope you wander wealthy.